Well, after a month-long special legislative session here in Texas that failed to move forward any of the governor's priorities, Greg Abbott has called a second special session that got underway just yesterday. But once again, not much of anything has happened, at least on the House side, with dozens of Democrats still in Washington, D.C. in that ongoing effort to block a controversial voting bill. Some Republicans absent yesterday as well. Joining us to talk about all of this is Eddy Carder, a professor of constitutional law at Prairie View A&M. Dr. Carder, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Absolutely. I'm honored to do so.
Well, the Texas House once again failed to reach that quorum as special session number 2 got underway yesterday. Talk to us about where things stand right now. Where are we?
Well, as you said, we continue to be on hold with regard to the entirety of the legislative process. The Democrats remain hiding out in D.C. and from the evidence of things at this point have no intention of returning back to the state. And Republicans continue to, and the governor especially, continues to indicate that he's going to follow through with a civil arrest and compel them into legislative action on their return to the state. So for the time being, things are still on hold.
Yeah, and how has the agenda changed or the dynamics changed from this first session to the one that we're in right now?
Well, as far as the dynamics of the events, obviously the animosity and the tensions between the two parties has escalated to some extent. The governor is even more frustrated, as well as the lieutenant governor and other Republicans. And the Democrats seem to be more entrenched in their perspective with regard to the suppression of voting rights in the laws brought before the state legislature. So the dynamics are even more intense. With regard to the actual agenda items on the agenda for the next session, for this special session. Originally, I believe there were 11 items on the first special session agenda. As it stands now, I believe, based upon the governor's instructions, there are 17 items on the agenda at this point.
Is getting even bigger, but obviously the issue of reaching a quorum has been at the heart of all this. That's what's prevented the House from being able to vote on any of these issues. Essentially, not enough members there to, as the rules dictate, to take a vote. We've heard some talk about changing those quorum rules. Do you see that as at all likely?
The lieutenant governor made a request of Governor Abbott that he include the changing the quorum rules with regard to placing that item on the agenda. And so that is on the agenda. However, the problem with that is, first of all, in order to change those rules according to the Constitution, I believe it would require a 2/3 vote of the Senate, the state Senate, a 2/3 vote of the House of Representatives. And then it would have to go before the voters of the state. So the bar for getting that kind of agenda item accomplished is very, very high. Not to mention, it would be a very tedious process and a very drawn-out process. It doesn't seem that it would pose any immediate relief from the present standoff.
And as for the Democrats, obviously, most of the House Democrats still in D.C. They're beginning to trickle back. There's some indications that more may come back possibly this week. As of now, the voting bill, it's not dead, but it's also not moving forward. So what do you see as the Democrats' end game as we stand right now? And what have they accomplished already?
That's another excellent question. Can be answered in a variety of ways. But one thing that I would say is that essentially the Democrats have been effective in representing their constituents with regard to protecting voter rights in the state. Another thing is they have gone above and beyond in their efforts to protect the right of voters in the state of Texas. They put forth a more than noble effort on the federal level with regard to lobbying congressional representatives with regard to getting voter laws and uniformity of voter laws established at the federal level and asking for congressional intervention in the situation. So in that sense, they have, I think, been effective and put forth a very noble effort. On the other hand, however, once they return to the state, the reality is they are outnumbered and they will lose the vote from all apparent evidences. And there continues to be no inclination on the part of the Republicans to negotiate on these issues. So that's the way it stands at present.
And just got a few seconds left here. I just want to ask you, can the governor keep calling special sessions indefinitely? What does the Constitution say about that? How practical is that?
Well, a couple of concerns about that real quickly. He can continue to call as many special sessions as he desires between the regular sessions of the legislature in Texas. That is strictly his option. The legislative sessions, special sessions, last up to 30 days, but do not have to last for the totality of 30 days. But on the downside is the cost of these special sessions. The cost is estimated somewhere between $800,000 to as much as over $1 million for each specially called legislative session. So that eventually is going to reflect poorly upon both the Republicans and especially the Democrats, I think, as if this is a cause of action that's resorted to once again in the future.
A lot of money. Eddy Carder, constitutional law professor at Prairie View A&M. Dr. Carder, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate your perspective.
Absolutely. Thank you.